David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have a brand new entry-level pen from Visconti. Now, while Visconti is well known for their luxury offerings, they also have some very nice offerings available for less than $200, which is the entry point for the brand. They have the Mirage, which retails in the $160 range, and there's the Rembrandt, which is around $175. Today, I have a new model they have added to their under $200 offerings, and that is the Comedia. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of this trio of divine offerings, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about them. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Coles of London, the U.S. distributors for Visconti, as well as SD DuPont, for providing these pens on loan for review. The pen arrives in this custom box. On the front, it has the profile of the Italian poet Dante Alighieri. The Divine Comedy was written by Dante back in the 14th century. The work is a trilogy about the poet's journey into hell, purgatory, and ultimately heaven. Guided by the poet Virgil, Dante descends through the 9 circles of hell, each with unique punishments for those trapped within. They eventually arrive at the center where Satan himself resides. After escaping hell, Dante and Virgil go on to purgatory, and in the end, Dante goes on to heaven. Along the way, Dante explores several elements of Christian belief, as well as being very critical of the people in his culture that would otherwise have been kind of untouchable for a writer of that time. In essence, he wrote this piece in order to air his grievances in a biting political commentary, mainly aimed at the Roman Catholic Church and society at the time. He also wrote the piece in Italian, which was the language of the people, as opposed to Latin, which was the language of the cultural elites of the day. So it became widely read and popularized by the not-so-cultural elites. As the Divine Comedy has 3 parts, the Comedia is appropriately available in 3 different colors, each named for one of the trilogies. There is the Inferno, which depicts the depths of hell with a solid black resin with flaming red accents and dark ruthenium trim, evoking the fire and darkness of the Inferno. And then we have the Purgatorio, which represents purgatory with palladium trim and a taupe brown and gray resin, meant to signifying the purifying journey of the gray souls up the brown purgatorial mountain. And then finally, we have the Paradiso, which translates from Italian to heaven, which is made from a celestial sky blue resin and a yellow gold trim, symbolizing the holy light and joyful nobility of paradise. Inside the box, there's these nice faux suede flaps, and underneath we have the pens. Now, they aren't sold as a set. I just put them all in here together, and this is what they look like. There is the Inferno, the Purgatorio, and then the Paradiso. I feel the color schemes and the trim choices for each of these 3 work well. I'll show you during the size comparisons, but the pen is somewhat similar to the Rembrandt, with a few differences though. I'll give you a closer look at the other 2 at that point as well, but for the sake of this portion of the review, let's focus on the Paradiso. The pen is made from resin, and as I mentioned earlier, this model has gold trim. I do feel the color combination of the wispy whites and blues along with that gold trim does a good job of evoking the sky and clouds in the heavens. Let's take a look at the parts and features of this model. The top of the cap is adorned with a coin with the Visconti company logo. This pen does feature Visconti's My Pen system, where the piece is held on by a strong magnet, and you can trade this out for things like your initials or a birthstone. I'll show you during the size comparisons what the initial options look like. I've always liked the looks of the extension of the articulating clip on the backside of the cap. Speaking of the clip, the company name is displayed in negative space, surrounded by an engraved background. The cap is straight, and at the end of the cap there is a rather wide band. The top of the bottom edges have a hammered treatment, and the middle portion is engraved with the name of this particular model, Paradiso, and then on the back of the band it is engraved with Comedia. There is a medium-sized step down from the cap to the barrel, which is also straight until you reach the end where it tapers down briefly until the very end, which is punctuated by a round gold metal piece. The cap is magnetized. I feel it has an appropriate amount of strength. I haven't had any issues with the cap unintentionally disengaging from the barrel. Once you have removed the cap, you are presented with this number 6 stainless steel nib, which is very nice and available in either fine, medium, or broad. You'll see in the writing sample, but I do find this medium nib to be on the firm side, as well as being on the fine side of medium. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The metal section begins with a raised hammered metal band before sweeping up slightly for a smooth transition into a small swale at the beginning of the barrel. Now, this section is a bit on the slick side. If you tend to grip your pen a bit further back on the section, this might be a bit uncomfortable for you, but for me, I tend to grip my sections more towards the front, and the raised band extends high enough that it really comfortably blocks my grip from moving around, so I don't find myself continually having to adjust my grip. Now, while I would prefer if this wasn't a slick metal section, I wish those wouldn't necessarily exist, I do find the design of this one to be a good compromise between a nice aesthetic and a good usability. The cap does post. I found that if you need to post it, you do need to post it with a bit of intent in order to keep it secure. Not too much effort, but a bit more than just a casual placement. While the cap isn't overly heavy, it does contain a fair amount of metal, including kind of an internal magnet, so it's not particularly light. However, I do find the pen to maintain a good balance while posted, so if you like to post your pens, this is a good one to do so with. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and a converter is provided. With the metal included in the section and the barrel, eyedropping would not be recommended. I'm not certain which of the 9 circles of hell that would condemn you to, but I'm sure that Dante would include it in there somewhere. I wonder what the eternal punishment would be for committing fountain pen crimes. Maybe let me know in the comments below what you feel a befitting damnation should be. The Visconti Comedia series is available at a wide number of authorized Visconti retailers. I mentioned it up top, but it sells for right around $190. And I feel that's reasonable for this new offering. It's very complementary to the other Visconti pens in this price range. Thanks again. Go out to Coles of London for providing these pens on loan for review. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Just to start off, these pens did arrive to me in this nice little Visconti leather case. And it opens up. Well, I actually wanted to give you a look at that. And here were the pens. Nice felt interior. And then it has basically a guard in here so the pens aren't coming out. And then there's a tray. And it can fit 5 pens. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 6 pens is what it could fit in here. But these are the 3 models. Let me go ahead and take these out and set that aside. So here we have the 3 models. There is the Inferno and the Purgatorio and then the Paradise. Just because I didn't show you some of the close-up versions of pictures of the other pens. This is the Inferno, which has a real nice kind of fiery red to it, and it has that ruthenium trim and a ruthenium nib. I think this one has a nice look to it as well. I like the color scheme of this one, probably best of the bunch. Then this one here is the Purgatorio, which has the gray and the brown, and you can see this one has the, I believe it's palladium trim, but it is the silver colored trim. And then here is the Paradiso that we were taking a look at, which has the gold trim, and then also has the gold nib and section to it. So in regard to some size comparisons, let me just get a couple of those out of the way. In regard to a couple of other Viscontis, this is what it looks like with a Van Gogh. And then here it is with a Rembrandt. You can see that it's fairly close to the Rembrandt. And then here is one more model that I'm not sure if they sell any longer. This is the Breeze, and that's what it looks like in comparison to the Comedia. A couple of other Viscontis. This one is the Mirage. And then we have a Wall Street. And then finally, we actually have a Homo sapiens. Now, I mentioned that let me get these out of the way. I mentioned that this is using the Visconti My Pen system. If you have a magnet, you can see here that it will come out. Now, I will say that while they can be easily taken out with a magnet, I have not had one ever come out on its own. I do like that if for some reason you get it in there a little bit odd, you can kind of twist it around and get it facing correctly. But also, I said that I had some with my initials. So you can see here that I have a DP that is here at the bottom. And you can see that it is, or is it, there it is. Sorry, had it upside down. And you can see that it's kind of a yin-yang of pieces in there, but you can get your initials, which I think look nice in there as well. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with the Rembrandt, and then here it is with the Van Gogh, and then finally here it is with the Homo sapien. So here we have the writing sample for the Visconti Comedia. And this one, particular model is the Paradiso. This is a medium stainless steel nib, and the ink that I'm using, which I thought paired nicely with this pen, is Visconti Turquoise. This is what the ink looks like. It's one of my more favorite turquoises. It's just nicely saturated. It has a bit of shading to it. There it is with Paniter turquoise, and then here it is with Omas turquoise. Visconti somewhat recently updated their ink bottles, and let me go ahead and open this up. And it might be hard to see, but it does have one of the containers inside to help maintain some ink in there. We'll see how that is. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of those, especially in the Sailor bottles, but we'll see how this one works when the ink gets a little bit low. So far, at higher levels, it does work well. And it's an interesting bottle design, even though I was a big fan of the old Visconti bottle designs as well. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I will say this medium nib is very nice. It is fairly smooth. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here, but I do find the nib to be, the ink flow to be fairly generous on this nib. In regard to reverse writing, it's okay. It's a little bit scratchier, but gets the job done. And then in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up very well. So there we have the three models of the Comedia. I will say that with the magnetized caps, when you do have them next to each other, there is a bit of an attraction. So if you have pens that are other metal pens that these are next to, you just want to be careful. Not that there's going to be anything bad with it, but just there is a little bit of attraction to it. And that I think that between this Inferno and the Purgatorio and the Paradiso, I think it's a nice trilogy, and that it's a good addition to the lower cost Visconti models that they provide. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.